Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another race report. Today we're doing the Canadian National Championships. It's 2 laps of the Watopia Figure 8 loop. So the Watopia Figure 8 loop, it features the reverse KOM and the forward KOM. The reverse KOM is about 3.5 minutes long. It's a pretty tame KOM compared to the forward KOM, that is. So it goes up steep at first and then kind of flattens out near the top. But then the forward KOM is a 2 minute effort and it's just a brutal steep section the whole time. So I'm just in the starting pens here. I've arrived really early, just so then I'm at the start of the pack, which is always good in a Zwift race. There's going to be a really big turnout today. It was around 500 people, maybe even closer to 600, which is huge, especially compared to how big last year's group was. And a lot of strong people out. Some people you don't see on Zwift normally who are road riders, but are just drawn out specifically for this event. So some people who are gonna do well who you wouldn't expect. So we're about to start off here. I'm ramping it up to 300 watts just so I can be out of the gates fast and try and maintain some position in the group. So just the usual sprint off the start, trying to maintain position. I have a teammate in this group, Evan. We're wearing the same kits and both on blue Tron bikes. This is a pretty fast course despite having two pretty substantial hills in it. So the aero bike is definitely worth it, especially when it's the Tron bike and there's not much of a weight penalty either compared to the Amanda. If you didn't have access to the Tron bike, I would say today was definitely a course for the Madone or any of the other aero bikes with probably Zip 404 wheels or maybe even 808s just because it was so fast. I think we ended up averaging 48 kilometers per hour for the hour and 15 minutes. So crazy fast. And even the hills are still pretty fast where you get a draft benefit for sure. The reverse KOM or the reverse KOM we probably average in the high 30s up it. So the aero wheels and the aero bike are definitely more beneficial than the lightweight wheels and the lightweight bike. So this is the first section of the race. We're just going to go down into Ocean Boulevard, then up the S turns, and then start the KOM, the reverse KOM. The start of this race was reasonably hard. Up to the start of the first KOM, I averaged 310 watts for 10 minutes, so that's almost, well, that is a threshold effort for me. My best 10-minute power is in the 330s, so that just goes to show how hard the start of this race was. And then to cap it all off, after doing 10 minutes at threshold, you have to do a 1 minute maximum effort to hang on to the front group up the climb. So I came into this race with a feather power up. Normally I'd want to just have an arrow and just save the arrow for the end of the race, but I had done 4 laps around the volcano circuit and got 3 XPs and a feather. And then by the time I got the feather, it was time to start getting into the pen. So I just said, well, the feather is good enough, and there's enough points on this course. It's a long enough course that we'll be able to hopefully get a feather or an arrow power up eventually. So we're just in Ocean Boulevard now, hovering around the 280, 290 watt mark. I'm kind of losing positioning in the group, but I'm not too worried about that. I predicted that there would be about 60 people making the front group after the first KOM, but I anticipated that everybody in the top like 200 to 300 would be making it into the KOM together. The important part here is when you're getting to the KOM, you don't want to be at the very back because then you're starting the KOM like maybe 5 to 10 seconds even behind the people at the start of who are like at the front of the race. So just coming out of Ocean Boulevard here, we're gonna go around this right-hand turn where there's a bit of a kick. Normally, I try to make up some places here, but because the group was going so fast, it was just so hard to make up any places. This was a double draft race, so the drafting was extra effective compared to regular Zwift races, um, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of. I think it just blows the speed up disproportionately high. So, in my opinion, I think it would have been better if the nationals were just regular draft mechanics. And it also, I find my riding style, the way I'm used to riding is with the regular draft. So, some of the things I do, they don't translate well to the double draft. So, some of my energy saving methodologies just don't work as well in the double draft. When it comes to double draft, I think the ultimate strategy is to just be mid-pack all the time. Whereas in regular draft scenarios, you can afford to be closer to the back of the group. So we're just gonna come over the bridge and then we're gonna be up through the S's. And after the S's, there is the first reverse KOM. So let's just fast forward here a bit and we'll get to the interesting parts. So here we are at the bridge right before the KOM. This is another weird mechanic of double draft. So normally when you get to this point in the course, the people at the back of the group really surge forward and become the front of the group, which didn't happen. I don't know if it was because just the amount of firepower in this group or because of the double draft mechanics, but I have a feeling it's a bit of both. I have a feather power up, which I'm going to be saving till the steep part of this climb. So the reverse KOM, we just came into it now. It starts off pretty shallow, but then there's a real big kick. And then after this kick, it kind of flattens out a bit. So we're going to come up to the kick here. And you can see I'm using my feather power up just because I think I'm a bit too far back in the group right now and I want to move up. Maybe I'm a bit paranoid here and I don't want to be caught out by any gaps. But I'm flying through the group here. This was probably a bit excess. So I backed off a bit because I don't want to hit the front because we're still going 30 kilometers an hour. You want to be in the draft still at this point. So that was the steepest section of this side up the KOM. And once we turn around this corner, we go downhill a bit and you can recover for a couple seconds and then it kicks back up right again. So it's really important in this part of the section to be in the draft and making sure you're carrying momentum into the second half of the climb. So it kicked up to 7% there, and that's as steep as it goes in the second section. And then from now up to the KOM banner, it's around 3% to 2% with a couple downhills. And in those downhills, it's you can make so many places in those downhills and save so much energy by just riding them correctly. So when I say that, I mean you want to be on the wheel in the main group as you're going down the hill and accelerating into the hill. So you have more momentum than everybody else in the group going into the hill. So you can see me here just hanging out in the pack. There's no reason to be attacking up the front. Everybody who's made the selection at this point is most likely going to be making it over the top of the KOM with everybody else. And you can see Justin Purificati, one of the Zwift All-Stars, is back here with me, so there's really no need to panic. He's probably one of the favorites for today. You can see Ed Veal is in this group. He's a pretty famous Canadian and a lot of Canadian talent, which is good to see. So this front group was around 60 people, I believe. So 60 people made the first selection, which is obviously a pretty major selection when you're starting with 500 people. So it was decently hard coming up this. So the first time we came up the reverse KOM, it took us 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and I averaged around 359 watts for those 3 minutes and 50 or 35 seconds. So this is the last part of the KOM, and I don't know why, but it seems like no matter what kind of race it is, everybody is always attacking here. Everybody likes attacking over the top. I'm not sure why. We're averaging like 35, 40 kilometers per hour over the top of that. So you're not going to be able to get away. So it kind of eased off a bit between the climbs, my heart rate is still pretty high, up in the 180s. So I'm still putting in a lot of effort here. And I was kind of dreading the next KOM because my legs were not feeling great at this point. But I got lucky at the top of that and I got another featherweight power up. So I'll be using that for sure in this next KOM. So the next climb is much steeper than the first one. We're just about to come into the base of it now. And it's a 2 minute all out effort. So you can see right into the 400 watts as soon as we're into it. But we're still going 40 kilometers an hour. So you don't want to be at the front of the group at this point. The speed drops slowly as we make our way up this. I've popped my feather. Just, I'm trying to get all the advantage I can get here because I was really hurting. And I think I began to feel better as the day went on, which is always a good thing. There's a bit of a downhill here, or a plateau where you can catch your breath kind of, not much, maybe half a second, but you really need momentum coming into there. And you can see the guy in the green, that's Lionel Sanders, professional triathlete. He came second in Kona 2 years ago, so definitely a strong guy. Not much of a sprinter though. I was worried about him going off the front and just TTing away from everyone. But I'm on his wheel up in the top half of the group here, which is exactly where I want to be. Not too far to the front. I don't want to be attacking. And that's that. Over the top of the KOM, it's shallow from here on out. Um, I'm backing off the watts here and losing a couple places just because I'd rather recover a bit instead of just fighting for these insignificant places and letting people close the gaps and drafting off people. So that was the top of the KOM, and I was lucky enough to get another arrow helmet. But then the thing about this section is we go down, but then it kicks right back up again. So you'll see us coming up to this kicker here, and I'm going to have to put in a bit of an effort just to stay in the main group. I was hurting, but I was still riding within my limits. My heart rate got up to 193, I think, up the first time. And this way around the course, I find it is really challenging because you go up that KOM and then you have these rollers up here before you actually descend and have a chance to recover. So it's flat right now, so everybody's still having to pedal hard, and it will eventually kick back up again after we go down this hill. So you can see that the group is around 35 guys, and we're just gonna come up to this kicker and another effort right here, like 10 seconds. But these efforts all hurt, especially after doing a 2 minute maximal effort. So we'll just fast forward a bit here because as we descend, nothing really interesting happens. So the forward KOM that time, I averaged 436 watts up it, and it was around 2 minutes. So a lot of power up that. And this is another crucial point in the race. There wasn't really much time to recover between now and the forward KOM, and this is coming into the S's. So you can see a lot of orange numbers here. Everybody has dipped into the orange numbers at some point up that last little kicker. And these are the S's. It's really strung out right now. And you kind of have to be worried about someone breaking and breaking that elastic. But I see there's still a fair few big names around me, so I'm not too concerned. You got Pierre Ficati there. I saw Bruce Bird. He's another real strong Canadian. But I'm having to put in a bit of an effort here just to make sure I stay on those wheels and stay in the pack because we're going so fast. As soon as you lose the draft of the group, you're just gone. And unfortunately for my teammate Evan, he he couldn't get on someone's wheel and the gap just went from 0 seconds to 4 to 5 to 45 seconds in no time. So he was dropped at this point in the race, which is kind of annoying after making it up those KOMs and those big efforts with the rest of the group. So after going through the S's, it calmed down again a bit. So between the KOMs, I was averaging around 260 watts for each of the intervals between the KOMs, and this is our second lap now. Between the first and second lap, as we crossed the banner, I took a caffeine gel just to try and get some energy and get some focus in the mind. We're gonna go up the S's here and then a second time through the KOM, so the reverse KOM. So here we are in the reverse KOM. Heart rate 177 beats per minute just to start it off, which is not a good sign, not what I want. I much prefer my heart rate to be in the 160s at this point. But so this first minute effort, you've seen it before, the steep half of the climb. We're going up 550 watts, well into the orange numbers. I want to stay at the front of this group and I want to make sure I'm in any selection that happens. People are using their featherweight power ups. I see an arrow power up there, which is an interesting choice. We're going decently fast, but maybe not the most optimal time to use it. So I often back off the power a bit here just to let people overtake me, just so I can recover just for that fraction of a second and then build momentum into the steep part here. I was really suffering up this time. This was probably the most pain I was in the whole race. So I don't know why, but on the last time up the forward KOM, my legs just felt really good. They, I don't know, something, maybe it's a mental thing more than a physical thing, but this time up this reverse KOM really hurt. So we're here trying to be in the group as much as possible. It's not too bad this side up the climb because once you're past that one that one big kicker, you can rely on the draft for the most part. I'm kind of falling back in the group here. It's a bit concerning since there's only two guys behind me, but with momentum and stuff, you can make up places pretty easily. And I know there's going to be attacks as soon as we turn the corner and go uphill again because everybody likes sprinting for that KOM banner, even though it's absolutely pointless. So here we go. It's starting to kick up again, and people are revving it up. There's a couple of people at the front pushing at about 6 watts per kilo. I know I should be getting into the group here more. And at this point, I'm really not feeling great, so I'm actually going to have to use my arrow power up. I was planning on saving this arrow power up the whole race and just sitting on it till the end and using it for the sprint because I didn't want to risk not having one for the sprint, but I'm having to use it now just because I'm hurting too much. The lactic acid is building in the legs. So we go through there, and actually I'm lucky enough to pick up another arrow power up. So the Zwift gods were in my favor today. And I took that as a sign that I just had to try hard, put my head down and go for it the next time up the climb. So it got progressively easier on these flat sections, but not by much. We were still riding at tempo for sure. I was averaging 260 watts. So the first flat section was 300 watts just because that's the start of the race. Then the next flat section I did 265. Then the second flat section was at 259. And then it just progressively got easier. And then the last flat section, it was back up to the 300s because it was right at the end of the race. So we're coming in to the final effort. So this is kind of the make or break moment. And I'm pretty sure everybody who's made it this far into the race in the front group is going to be sticking around because you've proven yourself on 3 climbs. Chances are you're going to be able to do one more. It's a lot easier racing in a smaller group. So we're down to around 30 riders. And when we're in 30 riders, like the difference between the front of the group and the back of the group isn't huge compared to like 500 riders where you can be just like a full minute behind by being at the back of the group. So positioning becomes less and less important as the group gets smaller. So here's the lead in to the forward KOM. We go up hill a bit here and then across the bridge. And once we cross the bridge, that's when the wattages start getting dropped. So as soon as we cross the bridge, everybody is up into the orange numbers, in the high sevens at least. I was feeling surprisingly good through this part of the climb. I'm not sure if it was my cadence was lower this time through, so it was more of a muscular effort than a cardiovascular effort, but you can still see my heart rate is up in the high 180s, flickering onto 190, but my cadence is down in the 80s, which is unusual for me. Normally, I'm one to be spinning and winning, spinning to win. So here we go, second part of this climb, and I'm having to put in a decent effort here because I want to make sure I'm at the front of this group. Not at the very front, but definitely in the first half. I don't want to be caught out by anything because I've already invested so much effort. I don't want to be caught out by a silly tactical mistake. There's Justin Purificati coming around me, one of the Zwift All-Stars, probably one of the most talented Canadian Zwifters out there. There were a couple guys who were definitely ones to look out for. Um, some people in the low 200s in terms of Swift Power points. I think I was the fourth highest ranked rider in the sign up. So before the race had started, I had the fourth least points, or maybe the fifth. I'm not sure. But that was the last effort. Not anybody notable got dropped there. And then here we are, the last 2 kilometers. So we're going to go up through the S's, and then it's looking like it's going to come down to a sprint finish. I was still kind of worried here. You see Sanders, Lionel Sanders is still in the group. Kind of worried he'll go for a long bomb, so something like 1.5 kilometers out. But I know that the double draft just makes it so hard for anybody to get away. At this point in the race, it's all a mind game. So I'm just trying to calm myself down as much as possible. And you want to get your heart rate as low as possible just so you have room to work with in the sprint. And yeah, it's all about the mind. Even if your legs are hurting, you just got to tell yourself to keep pushing. The S's are probably my least favorite part of this course because my trainer can't react fast enough to them. So I end up spinning out down the hills, but then I'm spinning still as we go up the hill. So I just can't get the power down. So I'm kind of losing positions here, but that's fine. I know that you can make up a lot of positions, and it's actually good to be closer to the back of the group through a sprint because then you can unleash your effort and then get the draft all the way through. So that's the end of the S's and the last 1 kilometer. So this is the real crucial part of the race, and I have up here the video of my roommates cheering me on, so I'll let you guys.
We need a cheer. What do we say? Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, Oliver! Let's go! Let's go, Oliver! Let's go!
You got this!
I think we should have kept going with that cheer.
Yeah, we'll start at 500
Okay.
meters. 600 meters. Yes. Push through. Push through. It's 600 meters. Let's
Come on!
go.
Come on! Let's go! 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 Guys! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
I'm exhausted.
So fourth overall, a result I'm really happy with. I'm just going to go back here quickly so we can look at the sprint in more detail. So you see with around 700 meters to go, I'm pretty far back in the group, which is less than ideal. So I have to put in a bit of an effort here just to try and move up a bit. I misjudged it and put too much of an effort, and you can see I come to the front right around here. So pretty much exactly where you don't want to be, 500 meters left into a race is at the front. Everybody is dropping their aero power ups right now, so I do the same. And you can see Purificati, he just comes flying past me. He's doing 14 watts per kilo, and he really just accelerates out of the group there. But I think he went a bit too early. I'm still surfing wheels right now, so this is a good spot for me to be. And I'm just losing contact with those guys in front of me. And you can see Purificati is kind of starting to fade now, and I go past him, and I have no one to draft off of at this point, and I'm hitting the wind, and two guys managed to squeak by right before the lines. They had really strong sprints, so I'm not too disappointed with that. I'll be racing next Thursday in the KISS Community League, and I'll be sure to be uploading another video. Anyways, I hope you guys can learn from my mistakes here and we can all become better Zwifters together. See you next Thursday, and in the meantime, like and subscribe.